Hi everybody, January the 27th, end of Chinese New Year, it's a Friday, and it's a very windy and blustery day here in Tamchung. Temperature's around about 14.5 degrees, and I haven't started shivering yet because I've got this sort of Uniqlo jacket on, which has got a sort of very much a Chinese New Year flavour to it, and of course my explorer's hat, which I don't think matches, but actually I think the whole lot blends together to match so my face complexion matches that of my house. Anyway, this video is going to be a little bit different than before. Normally I'm talking about the highs I'm going through and all the good stuff, but the reality is that there are down times as well, and I thought what I'd actually talk to you about is how I manage those down times and brings me out of the, if you like, depressions and back into the world of happiness. The reality is that probably about 10% of the time I'm not completely happy because of obvious reasons, and hopefully some of the tips I'm going to give you here based on my 8 months of experience will help those of you out there who perhaps have got friends or relatives that may also benefit from my experience. I recognise that everybody is very different and every situation is different, so really it's a case of taking from this what makes sense to you and discarding the rest. So here we go. So I think overall, probably one of the key things you've got to have is an overriding purpose. Why are you here? You know, what's life all about? For me, it's very much about getting better. So my overriding purpose is to get myself better again. I know I'm probably never going to be the same as I was before, but then it's coming to terms with that, let's say mind over matter. So that's one of the things. So what I want to do is look at the short and the mid and the long term sort of coping strategies that I found have been useful to me, which may be helpful to you as well. First, in the short term, one of the key things is staying in contact with everybody. I spend a lot of time with friends. I've just finished with some friends at this moment, having had breakfast with them. And I think it's very important that you do keep in contact with people. If you can't see them face to face, although that's the preferable one, at least try and keep in contact using Zoom or Skype or WhatsApp video, whatever works for you. I think that's very important, and I find that particularly useful, particularly when talking to friends in America and in Portugal, and indeed around Hong Kong. So the first thing is to stay in contact with people. The second is to make sure every day you've got something to look forward to. It may be only small, seeing a friend or whatever, or buying something from the shops that you want to play around with. But you've got to make sure you've got little things that you can aim for that make sure your day worthwhile. It's looking for those, what we might call micro moments of joy. And sometimes you have to work at that because sometimes there aren't any micro moments, so you have to make them happen. The third thing is very much trying to take your situation and make it better. And for me, as I say, this is a short-term measure. Technology has played a big role in all of this. I've started thinking about how technology can help my day-to-day life easier, and also the day-to-day life of my family as well. And so, give you an example. I recently bought the new Apple Ultra watch, which is supposedly indestructible, but I tried that out and it's pretty difficult to damage. It's all titanium, everything. So one of the key things with that is it's a nice possession to have. The second thing is that it took me at least 2 or 3 weeks to figure out how to use all the functions, and I'm still learning, so that in itself was engaging. You get those moments of joy when you figured it out and you've downloaded something and it's actually helped taking hold on the watch. The other piece of technology I've just invested in, having got rid of my car, I bought myself a electric powered wheelchair, which I have to say is great fun. Just learning the technical side of it, but also more importantly how to drive it safely. That's something I've not yet mastered, but it's something I keep working on. In terms of my ability to reverse, well, it's abysmal. But in terms of my ability to steer it in a straight line, even that's abysmal, which doesn't say much for my overall coordination. But you've got to live with that anyway. Other short-term things, of course, continuing with the physiotherapy on a day-to-day basis, trying to improve the bits of you that don't work. In my case, basically 50% of me works and the other 50% doesn't. I exclude my brain from that none of that works. Yeah, that's another story. So if you look at the midterm, again, midterm issues may have been long-term issues initially, but have become midterm issues. So for example, one of the midterm issues is having actually got the tractor sorted out for the museum. That's now in town, having found one, sourced one with the help of a friend of mine, and then got it renovated and shipped into Hong Kong, and now it stands outside the museum, the Dairy Farming Museum, which we've been involved in. So I won't go on any more detail on that because you've heard it all before. The other thing though is looking for a mega goal, which is physical in nature. And one of the things that recently happened, in the immortal words of Martin Luther King, I had a dream. And the dream was that I was swimming across a place called Emerald Bay, which is in Sai Kung, which is basically outside my paddling club, with a friend. And it was a very, very great experience, this dream. But then I woke up to suddenly find that's all it was a dream. And I went into a deep depression, which I didn't really clear until probably mid-morning. And my wife said, well, it's a premonition of some kind, that you will be able to swim. Anyway, on the basis of this and having chats with some of my friends, we actually managed to source a YouTube video about one-arm swimming, which I consequently studied and decided that I was going to be able to do it. So I set up with my local club called the LRC with the swim coach there, and we had a go. And after some experimentation, such as buying a wetsuit to give me a bit more buoyancy, we figured out I could actually swim. So for example, yesterday I swam 300 meters, which I was pretty pleased about. But the plan overall is this, the premonition is this: I would like by Easter to be swimming across Emerald Bay, as I did in my dream, with the guy I mentioned, the friend I mentioned. And that will be a 1 kilometer course. So it'll be a 1 kilometer sea swim using one arm. How successful that's going to be remains to be seen, but I've got about a couple of months still to prepare for it, because the deadline is going to be in Easter. So that's what I'm aiming for. And like all of these short and mid and long term objectives, you've got to really set yourself goals, sometimes mini goals, daily goals, and sometimes more macro goals, such as this case, the 1 kilometer swim. You know, if you've got goals, you can measure yourself against them. So even things like the wheelchair, I need to be able to maneuver around tables in restaurants and things like that without knocking into people and running children over and all that sort of stuff, and not getting too excited or carried away with what I'm doing. So that's sort of, if you like, a mid-term goal that I've got. Longer term goal are things obviously to get better, which is part of the short term goal as well, but to try and get myself physically back to what I was before, or at least try to get myself in that direction, which is an ongoing process, to be honest. It's rather than a single goal, but it is measurable. You can tell how you're doing from your physio progress, and even from, in this case, my swimming progress. But looking to the longer term still, I need another project. The Fulham Farm project is now, to all intents and purposes, done. So the next project is really something to do with history. I like history. I've got actually a history degree, although I've got a terrible memory. So basically all the wonderful, little interesting facts I once remembered have all gone from my head. Oh, by the way, do you like my, look, I've got some hair now. Can you see that? What do you reckon? Look, my whole head matches the colour of my house. That's not intentional, it's just the way it's come out. Anyway, never mind. One tries, doesn't one? The other thing is I would like to eventually travel again. With this new wheelchair, high-powered wheelchair. It's not really very high-powered. It's hardly the Ferrari of the wheelchair world, but it is carbon fibre, so it's very light and very manoeuvrable. I should be able to go manage short-haul flights and enjoy them and get through airports and things. So that means I can do some more short-haul stuff. You know, like I'd like to go back to Japan, for example. Last time I was there, I was doing a motorcycle trip, where I think it's very well geared towards people in wheelchairs. And there's lots to see there, a lot of Japanese culture I'd very much like to learn to understand. I'd also like to go to sort of battlefields and understand, again, my interest in military history is quite strong. So I'd be very interested in seeing some of these battlefield sites and understanding what all the strategy and tactics were of the opposing forces. So that's another thing I'm doing. And finally, it's just to continue to be happy, to work on this mind over matter. I remember Forrest Gump's mother said to him, Forrest, I honestly believe that one makes one's own destiny and does so by making the best of what God's given them. Well, in this case, God's given me a good strong right arm, a good strong right leg. And so that's what I tend to make the most of. And the brain is still sort of okay, even though it's been replaced several times and it's been into the repair shop, but it's still functioning, and long may that continue. So on that note, I just want to quickly say, thank you for all your support in the past, and I will continue to stay in touch with you, and we'll look forward to reporting back on progress and anything else that might be of use to people other than myself.